Max Kell, who's got the upper hand now, Zeke or Cowboys?
It's actually Ezekiel Elliott. And it doesn't mean he has unlimited leverage here. He won't be a free agent next year. He can't do what Le'Veon Bell did and become a free agent and all that stuff. But the Cowboys have Super Bowl aspirations, and they're about to pay their quarterback. And what do we all know? The quarterback on the rookie deal, since quarterbacks are clearly overpaid, the quarterback on the rookie deal that's the window you have to build a team around them. They're about to lose that window. But they got everything they need except maybe the coach right now. They got an offensive line. They got a defense. They got a quarterback. They got a running back. They got a lead wide out.
They got everything but the coach. I'm sorry to laugh in the middle of your soliloquy. They got everything but the coach.
They've made the playoffs with this coach.
This is football, Max, not basketball.
The point is they are loaded, and the time is now. Now, when Jerry Jones says, hey, it's a marathon, we want him healthy for the playoffs, that makes it sound like he's really digging Zeke, like, hey, you know. Yeah. But, in fact, that tips his hand a little bit. Because what it tells me is if Ezekiel Elliott is willing to follow through and sit out and miss those game checks, which are not insignificant, he has a big rookie deal, he's drafted 4th. If he's willing to do that. Right. The Cowboys will fold. Stephen A., look at their schedule. You've pointed to this. Molly, you've pointed to this. I got the schedule right in front of me. That's why I opened my book. I'm looking at the schedule. You've pointed to this to point out why Zeke, this could backfire on him, because they start with the Giants at Dallas, and then they go to Washington. These are not really strong teams. However, they're NFL East rivals, and in fact, it puts a lot of pressure on the Cowboys to win. Much stranger things have happened than a bad Giants team going to Dallas and beating them at Dallas.
But week 4 it gets kind of real.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, actually, the Cowboys aren't even good enough to split those first 2 games. What if they lose those first 2 games without Ezekiel? Everyone's like, well, if they win, his leverage goes. But what if they lose? They're just about as likely to lose as they are to win without Ezekiel Elliott. Those games, NFL East rivals. By the way, that opening game, because they got to go on the road against Washington, that opening game against the Giants is actually a must-win game without Zeke if they want to win the contract negotiation. In fact, at this moment, Ezekiel Elliott, they both have some leverage. I think Ezekiel Elliott has a little more if he's willing to miss game checks.
Question is, who has the upper hand? It would happen to be the Dallas Cowboys. Here's why. When you look at the Dallas Cowboys, it's Ezekiel Elliott that has 2 years left on his deal. It's Ezekiel Elliott that can be franchised for a 3rd year. It's Ezekiel Elliott that decided to make this move in the middle of their negotiations with Dak Prescott. It's also the Dallas Cowboys schedule that they have available to them, the Giants, the opening game, Washington with Case Keenum as their quarterback, if I remember correctly. And then you got Miami that's got a new coach and possibly Ryan Fitzpatrick or Josh Rosen, whoever the hell they have, okay? So you got this going on. So really, September 29th, every game for the Dallas Cowboys without Ezekiel Elliott is absolutely positively winnable before New Orleans on September 29th. Then we take into account this. You also got to remember that if you're the Dallas Cowboys, although you got Jason Garrett as your coach, which is an impediment to your success, I would argue, you got a first-year offensive coordinator in Kellen Moore. He's a pass-happy kind of guy. He seems to be, he's purportedly the kind of guy that wants to air it out. We're trying to find out about Dak. And so if you are Jerry Jones and you really, really want to find out what Dak is made of, okay, I could make the argument that the deal hasn't been reached yet for that reason. Not that I think it will happen. I think ultimately you'll take care of your quarterback. But one could make the argument that that might have something to do with the procrastination that appears to exist on the part of him and Dak. Because without Ezekiel Elliott, I want to see what you got. So, in other words, what I'm saying is time is on the Cowboys. That might not be on Jerry Jones' side, who's turned 76 this year. But time is on the Cowboys' side.
Ding, ding, ding.
I understand, but he knows that too, Max, and he's willing to take that chance. He's willing to take that chance. So if you are Ezekiel Elliott, here's the risk. And I'll just throw this out to you, and then I'll give it to you. What if Dak goes out there with Kellen Moore as the offensive coordinator, and he's airing it out 35, 40 times a game, and he looks big time as a passer, and their passing attack is formidable. Obviously, Ezekiel Elliott will only buffer all of that stuff. But what I'm saying is, if you're winning without him, does that help him?
Well, okay. Now we're saying that if there's new information that comes in, it'll give one or the other leverage. In other words, if they start the season 0-2 and Dak looks bad, then Zeke's leverage goes up. If they start the season 2-0 and Dak looks great, then Zeke's leverage goes down. The Cowboys' leverage goes up. We're talking about right now.
What was it?
Right now, the Cowboys are in a position to win the Super Bowl. You cannot say that about the Cowboys. You couldn't for years and years and years, and they haven't done it in almost a quarter century. And Jerry Jones is not a spring chicken.
But I don't know how we can separate now from the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season. I don't know how we can do that.
Depending on what that information
Because what
is.
I'm saying to you is that going into, there's no urgency until there's urgency. There's no urgency while the games are not being played. So if anything, my argument is buffered because since no games have been played, what is Jerry Jones pressed about? What's he pressed about? If no games have been played, you ain't lose none
Because
either.
all these
if you
games
start
matter.
out, wait a minute, they haven't played yet. And if they start out, like you said, if they start out 2-0, the leverage elevates, right? Well, the leverage is 0-0. The leverage is there.
If you take Ezekiel Elliott off the Cowboys, they go from a top 5, 10-ish kind of team in the NFL to something below that. The expectations for the team drastically change.
Let me just throw okay, fine. Let me just throw out another scenario to you. Let's say for the sake of argument, I don't think this is going to happen because, damn it, it's the Cowboys and their fans would be happy about this, and we know how much that would grate my nerves. But here's the deal. Let's say, for example, the Cowboys start off at 3-0. And they said, all right, let's see what we want to go into New Orleans without Zeke. Let's see what Dak does then against Drew Brees at the Superdome, at the Mercedes-Benz Dome. Let's see what happens at that particular moment in time. What if they have that kind of mentality and then lo and behold, a miracle happens and the Dallas Cowboys start off 4-0?
What if there's a bunch of new information and all the events favor the Cowboys? What if that is the case, then the Cowboys' leverage will go up and Zeke's will go down.
Okay.
We're not talking about that right now.
I understand that. But what I'm saying to you is if you want to eradicate the new information and just deal with this moment, no games have been played. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.